There's a vast treasure trove of items awaiting to be discovered under the surface of the world's oceans and rivers. What lies beneath the water can, in some cases, act as a library of humanity's long and fascinating past. From an ancient navigational device to a Stonehenge-like structure in North America, here are 11 of the most fascinating underwater discoveries. Number 1. The Black Swan Project. The oceans of our world likely hold an unfathomable amount of treasure that thousands of people spend their lives looking for. While various shipwrecks that lie on the bottom of the ocean have enough valuables to make a single individual rich, one such discovery, known as the Black Swan Project, had enough precious metals to ensure your children's children would never work again. The Black Swan was the name of a project taken on by Odyssey Marine Exploration for the discovery and recovery of over $500 million worth of silver and gold coins. The treasure was initially being transported by the 17th century Spanish frigate Nuestra Señora de las Mercedes before it was sunk by the British Navy just off the coast of Portugal. News of the recovery and the shipwreck was made public by the Odyssey Marine Exploration Group in 2007. In the same year, the company flew over 17 tons of silver and gold coins to an unknown address in Florida. However, it would not be a fairy tale ending for the treasure hunting group, as the Spanish government went on to sue them. While the Odyssey pursued every legal avenue they could think of, ultimately, the U.S. Supreme Court ordered them to return all of the $500 million treasure hoard back to Spain in 2012, where it remains on the show to this day. Number 2. Apollo 11 engines. The United States played a huge role in the advancements of space exploration during the 1960s. They developed some of the most powerful and advanced machines that allowed them to go where no one had gone before. Rockets such as the Saturn V were responsible for sending the Apollo program into space and taking some of the first astronauts beyond our world with them. The massive F-1 engines that powered the Saturn rockets during the initial takeoff had to be discarded when they ran out of fuel. So, during the early years of space exploration, NASA had to ensure that they wouldn't fall back down to Earth in heavily populated areas. Thus, they were confined to a watery grave at the bottom of the ocean. The F-1 engines landed in such a remote part of the ocean that not even NASA knew where they ended up, and they remained missing for decades. However, in 2012, Jeff Bezos, the founder of Amazon, announced that he would search for and recover the original engines used for Apollo 11's flight. Eventually, Bezos' team found these historical space-age artifacts within a year just off the coast of Florida and began to return parts of them to the surface. Once various parts of the engines were hauled up from almost 3 miles under the surface of the Atlantic Ocean, a dedicated team of restoration workers took over 2 years to rebuild the engines. While it's unlikely that any single engine was wholly restored due to the number of parts required, the partially restored engines were then placed on exhibit at the Museum of Flight in Seattle and stand as a reminder of America's achievements during the space race. Number 3. The ULUBURUN shipwreck. One of the most fascinating discoveries on our list is the ULUBURUN shipwreck, a vessel that sank under the Mediterranean Sea over 3,000 years ago. Despite being a wooden vessel, enough of the ship was recovered to use in a physical reconstruction, giving us insight into how it looked over 3 millennia ago. The ULUBURUN's age and condition make it an extraordinary archaeological find, as it sheds insight into how advanced shipfaring cultures were around 3,000 years ago. According to archaeologists, the ULUBURUN shipwreck illustrates the existence of a thriving commercial sea network that existed along the Mediterranean during the Bronze Age. It took archaeologists over 10 years and over 20,000 dives to bring all of the fascinating artifacts and remains to the surface for further investigation. Among the items of interest were elephant tusks, ostrich eggs, and many gold items, showing that this ship must have been under the command of a rich and powerful dynasty or nation. Judging by the style of pottery recovered from the wreck, it suggests that this ship may have been part of a Mycenaean fleet, otherwise known as the First Greeks. Number 4. The Battersea Shield. One of the most impressive and archaeological items ever recovered in Britain was pulled from the Thames River back in 1857. As workers were dredging the river, they uncovered a Celtic-era shield that dates back to before the Roman occupation of Britain. This marvelous bronze shield is an impressive and intricately designed piece. It would have been originally used as the front covering for a wooden shield. The Battersea Shield is a unique item, having been crafted from various pieces of bronze sheets that are held together by rivets, showing the level of craftsmanship that was apparent during pre-Roman Britain. The shield is decorated in lateen fashion, with various swirls and inlaid with red glass, some of which have an Indo-European swastika, a symbol associated with good fortune and solar worship long before the Nazi Party tainted the symbol. The Battersea Shield is considered one of the most significant archaeological finds ever discovered in Great Britain. Various mysteries surround the shield, including its actual dating. While the Museum of London has ascribed a date of around 50 BCE to the shield, others suggest it could be much older. On top of this, no one is really sure who it belonged to, but it was most likely the property of a high-ranking Celtic chief. It may have even been a ceremonial piece that was offered to the River Thames. The Celts were known for such offerings, and rivers were considered some of the most sacred places on their land. Regardless of its origin, the shield covering still offers valuable insight into the level of metallurgy that existed in Britain over 2,000 years ago. If you feel like your Celtic or Mycenaean ancestry is calling you through these finds, subscribe to Magma Storm for more videos on topics such as these. Number 5. Giant tube worms. Deep-sea volcanoes are considered one of the most inhospitable places on our planet. For any kind of organism to exist in this kind of environment, they have to contend with both the pressure of the water and the extreme temperatures that surround the volcanoes. So you can imagine the surprise of various researchers when, in 1976, they discovered an organism capable of withstanding extreme and hostile conditions. While scientists were investigating the hypothermal vents of these underwater volcanoes, they discovered an entirely new creature, which we now refer to as giant tube worms. These alien-like invertebrates grow around these volcanic vents, stand around 2 meters tall in places, and withstand immense amounts of sulfur and extremely high temperatures that exceed over 100 degrees Fahrenheit. The discovery of these tube worms offers valuable insight into the possibility that there could be life on other planets that live in hostile environments similar to those observed around underwater volcanoes. Number 6. Stonehenge of Lake Michigan. Stonehenge is a world-renowned historical site and one of the most visited ancient places in the world. Known for its enormous standing stones and unique circular layout, many would assume this to be a one-of-a-kind site. However, you may be shocked to find out that a similar styled site lies underneath Lake Michigan in the United States. Back in 2007, Mark Hawley, an archaeologist specializing in underwater sites, discovered the unique selection of megalithic stones arranged in a circle on the bed of the Michigan River. Dubbed the Stonehenge of Lake Michigan, this unique set of standing stones is unusual for the United States, as very few stone circles have been found. What's even more mysterious about the underwater site is that one of the standing stones had a mastodon carved into its face. The mastodon has been extinct for over 10,000 years in North America, indicating that this site may be as old as the extinct animal, making it one of the oldest sites ever discovered in America. To this day, no researcher or archaeologist knows exactly who built the stone circle or why. Theories suggest that it may have been used as some kind of astronomical observatory that aligned with celestial bodies. One thing is for sure. The Stonehenge of Lake Michigan sheds light on a unique culture that had the capability to move megalithic stones over 10,000 years ago. Number 7. Elongated skulls of Mexico. Across Central America, specifically in the Yucatan Peninsula, thousands of cenotes can be found. Cenotes are deep-water sinkholes that form when underground limestone caves collapse in on themselves. These underwater caverns were considered some of the most sacred places on Earth by the ancient peoples of the area, including the Maya. While many of these caverns are full of offerings such as jade and precious stones, a particular cenote in Soquayum on Mexico's Yucatan Peninsula was found to contain an extremely unusual cache of elongated skulls, similar to those found in Peru. These skulls filled up 2 chambers within the cenote and suggest that this place was either used as a sacred burial ground or as a place of ceremonial sacrifice. However, Soquayum is not a typical cenote, as various unusual local legends surround this site. The most mysterious of the tales is that a feathered horse-headed serpent guards the entrance of the cenote. Among the older population of the nearby village of Telchaquillo, stories exist of the serpent perching in a tree before leaping up and back into the deep water. Many of the villagers steer well clear of the site and express their desire to stay away from whatever hides within the cavern. While it's difficult to determine truth from myth at this unusual site, the elongated skulls have certainly fascinated scholars. While more data and DNA testing would be required to confirm any link between these skulls and those of Peru, the sheer size and shape of the cranial remains could point towards a fascinating and ancient connection between the coast of Mexico and that of Peru. Number 8. The Baltic Sea Anomaly. Back in the summer of 2012, a group of Swedish treasure hunters known as Ocean X came across an unusual and strange item at a depth of 279 feet on the bed of the Baltic Sea. The team had been using sonar imaging when they came across an unexpected object with strangely unusual features, looking like something from a science fiction movie. This became known as the Baltic Sea Anomaly. The imaging showed an object that was around 200 feet wide, with features such as rams, stairways, and sharp lines that aren't produced by nature. As the treasure hunters tried to get closer to take sharper images, an electrical malfunction occurred with their equipment. Over the years, various other groups of divers and researchers have also tried to uncover the mystery of this strange object. Yet each and every time they got close to the anomaly, their electrical equipment would begin to malfunction when they got around 200 meters to the anomaly. This has led many to come up with various theories suggesting the item was some kind of advanced creation of the Third Reich or possibly alien craft that was abandoned at the depths of the Baltic Ocean. Researchers were able to take a sample of the material and found it to be made of basalt with traces of burnt organics. The object was exposed to extremely high temperatures, similar to what we'd observe on a meteor that's recently passed through the Earth's atmosphere. Simple theories put forth by geologists and other skeptical minds suggest that the formation is nothing more than a glacial deposit, and in some cases a meteorite. However, this isn't what Peter Lindberg, the leader of the Ocean X team, believes. Lindberg, who spent the most time around the strange formation, suggests that various features on the rock are man-made. He backs this up by suggesting that there's a sign of an artificial staircase that runs down one side of the item, and that the structure needs a lot more investigation. Number 9. The ANTIKYTHERA mechanism. One of the most important discoveries ever made regarding the understanding of capabilities of our maritime ancestors was that of the ANTIKYTHERA mechanism. Researchers and archaeologists have described this unusual object as the world's first analog computer. Originally discovered at the beginning of the 20th century by sponge divers on a shipwreck just off the coast of the Greek island of Antikythera, this metal artifact had perplexed all who set their eyes upon it. Researchers studied the device for almost a century, until its secrets were finally revealed by a high-powered X-ray machine brought over from Great Britain. This machine was able to scan the device and give researchers a true understanding of its complexity. The researchers working on the Antikythera mechanism discovered that the device comprised at least 37 bronze gears of varying shapes and sizes. The cogs were carefully manufactured to fit together, and each had varying amounts of teeth that corresponded to a prime number. The mechanism contained multiple gears, pins, and rivets. These worked to allow the person holding the device to configure the gears manually, and like an analog computer, they would give the device an input and receive an output. Archaeologists were astonished by the findings and believed the device could have been used for an array of purposes. Theories suggest it was used to model the planets and stars in the night sky, allowing the user to pinpoint their position while at sea. This would enable seafarers to travel vast distances without losing their way. Other interpretations have suggested it was used to track the time and determine when particular religious festivals or events would occur in a calendar. Regardless of the functional use of the device, it has remained one of the most impressive discoveries in the history of archaeology. Number 10. The deepest shipwreck ever discovered. Various battles were fought throughout World War II, with each of them playing an essential role in the eventual end of the war. While many battles were fought on land, others were fought on the open sea. One crucial battle which often gets overlooked was that of the Leyte Gulf. A naval destroyer, the SS Johnson, and her crew took on a sizable Japanese threat in the Philippine Sea. During one portion of the battle, now referred to as the Battle of Samir, the SS Johnson and other Allied vessels did their best to push back the Japanese army. However, after losing nearly 200 crew members, the SS Johnson was abandoned. The crew was revered for their service, and while they didn't win the battle on the day, their sacrifice proved enormously damaging to the overall strength of the Japanese Navy's presence in the area. The SS Johnson eventually sank to a depth of over 6,500 meters in the Philippine Sea, and to this day it remains the deepest shipwreck in history. In 2021, the ship was rediscovered, and various diving crews recorded information and took pictures of the historical ship. While many could easily say this is nothing but a modern shipwreck in a distant part of the world, SS Johnson and its crew are remembered for the role they played in the Battle of Samir and in the eventual downfall of the Japanese Navy. Number 11. The RAMA SETU, Adams Bridge. The final discovery on our list has gained widespread interest over the last few centuries, primarily due to an ancient Indian text known as the Ramayana. Few historical structures around the world blend mythological legend and science together quite like the RAMA SETU, also known as Adams Bridge. The RAMA SETU is a long chain of mineral shoals that once connected India to Sri Lanka. While today the majority of this bridge lies under the Indian Ocean, legends say that once upon a time, this bridge was used by the Hindu hero Rama to rescue his wife from the evil Ravana of Sri Lanka. In the great Indian epic, the Ramayana, Rama's wife was taken to Sri Lanka by its evil king Ravana. So in order to retrieve his wife from the grasp of this evil ruler, Rama enlisted the help of a group of people known as the Varana to construct a bridge across the sea from Pamban Island in Tamil Nadu to Mannar Island in Sri Lanka, a total distance of around 50 kilometers. While agencies such as NASA suggest that the bridge is nothing more than a naturally occurring chain of sandbanks, however, many members of India's Hindu community see it as proof of their ancient epic. Could this bridge really have been built by an advanced civilization that once thrived in India? Or are we simply looking at a remarkable feat of nature? And that is our list of the most fascinating underwater discoveries. Thanks for watching. Subscribe to Magma Storm if you'd like to see more videos like this.